Hello! In the previous videos, you have learned about utilizing factoring polynomials to go from 3 terms down to 2 parentheses. And in the previous video, you have learned about having to factor polynomials that involve numbers, the leading number, not including 1, to be factored out to be 2 parentheses, in such case that the front term goes in the front of the parentheses. So just to recap the information for part 1, we want to factor this out, x squared plus 3x is 2. You got 1 times 2 to go on the top, and the bottom term, the 3, will be there. And then now you want to ask yourselves, what are factors of 2 that can add up to 3? So factors of 2 that adds up to 3. So you can list out the factors, 1 and 2, and that's pretty much it. But thankfully, 1 plus 2 is 3, which matches to the bottom term. So we're going to put 1 and 2 on the sides, and therefore the parentheses becomes x plus 1 and x plus 2. So when you FOIL this out, you should see that the numbers actually do multiply to give you the polynomial. And for part 2, the recap, whenever you see a number that's different from 1, we need to use the chrysalis method. So we're going to put the 2 on front, multiply the beginning to the end, 2 times 1, which is 2. And we want to find 2 parentheses in such case that the sum of the factors equals to 3, the middle term. So in this case, what are factors of 2? Factors of this 2 that adds up to 3. Thankfully, factors of 2 is pretty small, so 1 times 2 is 2. And that seems to be it, but the sum is actually 3, so that's what we need. So we're going to put 1 and 2. Treat 2 over 1 as a fraction, and then we see that this is already simplified out, so it's going to be 2x plus 1 as the first parentheses. And for the second parentheses, 2 over 2. If we want to simplify that a little bit further out, I'll need to divide 2 on the top and the bottom. So that's 1 over 1. So 1x plus 1. Granted that if you multiply 1 times x, it's just x. So I'm just going to eliminate the 1 in front. For this video, we'll be talking about GCFs, greatest common factors, that involve using the algorithm from part 1, the regular cross product algorithm, and using the algorithm from the previous video, the chrysalis method, to find out how we can be able to simplify completely from a complex polynomial down to 2 parentheses or perhaps 3 parentheses. And at the end of the video, we'll be discussing special cases. So let's move on. So say that I have this question, 12x squared y3 plus 15x4y minus 6xy squared. So let's list out the factors of 12, 15, and 6, since they're separated by their signs. 12 includes 6 times 2, so it's like a factor tree, and then 6 is the same thing as 3 times 2. So I'm going to lay out the terms. That's 2 times 2 times 3. And because of the x squared, we're going to lay out the 2 x's, and the same for the y, so 3 y's. Separated by the plus sign, and going with the 15, we see that it has 5 times 3. X to the 4th means that there are 4 x's y, separated by the minus sign, and then 6 is the same thing as 3 times 2. X, and then 2 y's because of y squared. And now we want to find out what the GCF of the terms are so that we can pull out in front of the parentheses. I see that there's a 3 common in all 3 terms, so I'm going to pull that out. And it seems like we can also pull out 1x. So we're going to pull it out from the parentheses. And by looking at the y's, I see that we have one y that is common from all of them. So I'm going to pull one y out. Everything else that we haven't touched will remain inside. So it's 2 times 2, which is 4, x, and then we have 2y, so it's y squared. On the second term, 5, and then we have 3x's, so that's x3. Separated by the minus sign, and then we have 2 times y. So I'm just going to lay this out as one color, so it's easy to see. So 3xy, parentheses 4xy squared, plus 5x3, minus 2y. So granted that if you want to check your work, you'll just distribute that 3xy to all three terms, and you will see that by distributing those three terms, that it will match what you have at the beginning. Moving forward, so say that I have a polynomial like 30x squared y plus 90xy plus 20y. And again, our goal is to factor completely. So we got 30, 90, and 20. It seems a little bit suspicious that they all have 1 zeros together. So just to make this a little bit more convenient, I'm going to list this out as 10 times 3. And then because of the x squared, that means xxy separated by the plus sign. 90 is the same thing as 10 times 9. And then we got xy. Separated by the plus sign, then we have 10 times 2 times y. And then we can see that by finding the GCF, all three terms share a 10. So I'm going to pull the 10 out. And they all seem to share 1y together. Everything else that we haven't touched will remain inside. So we got 3xx, so it's 3x squared, separated by the plus sign. And then we have 9x, separated by the plus sign, and that's plus 2. So to make this as one color, 10y, 3x squared plus 9x plus 2 would be your answer. Granted that if you want to check your work, you want to distribute 10y to all three terms, and you will see that it will match to what you have as the original prompt. Moving forward, so say that you have 6x5z plus 24x4z plus 48x3z. And again, our goal is to factor completely. So I'm going to lay out the terms. It seems like by looking at the numbers 6, 24, and 48, 6 seems to be a multiple that can multiply to 24. So 24 is the same thing as 6 times 4. 48 is the same thing as 6 times 8. So we can keep that in mind when we're expanding on the factors. 6, we have 5 x's, 1z, separated by the plus sign, 6 times 4. We got 4 x's, 1z, separated by the plus sign, 6 times 8. We have 3 x's, and then 1z. Let's see what all three terms share in common. Well, we can already check that they all have 6. So I'm going to pull the 6 out. And let's see what else they have in common. It can pull out 3 x's. So we pull out 3 x's, that's the same thing as x3. And they all share a z. Everything else that we haven't touched will remain inside. X squared plus 4x plus 8. That seems to be it regarding this problem. We want to put this as one color, the 6x3z, x squared plus 4x plus 2, 8.